Hello.
Hey, Ellah yawa. Hey. Si umeng'ara.
Rodrigo. Si
Ellah.
ucheze chini. Wacha ninajaribu kutengeneza hii tai, ache kunimulika iwadanganye.
Ellah. Hey.
Niliambia Salome hata niona nikikaa ratchet.
Mpaka wacha tuwashe kamera uone vile tunakucelebrate huku tukiwa na dad. Kai. Ona.
Hello.
Hey. Hey.
We, si ebu mimi nataka kuongea na Salome. I see she's in, yeah.
She's in, yes. Tugi says hi. Sema hi. Najua tuko live on YouTube.
Guys, behave. Mnachoma mbele ya Salome mazee.
Ni sawa. Tunaenda. Bye. Tunaenda. Hi, Salome.
Hello, Salome. Are you there? Let me know if you can hear me. Hi, Fanuel. I see you in the building. Thank you very much for joining. Habari yako, maybe you can tell me a thing or two before Salome comes in. Maybe I think she's trying to load her audio. She's connecting her audio.
Salome has put on, I think, her phone and her laptop at the same time. So ndio moja ikilog out, at least kuna ingine iko sawa.
That is a hello everyone. Right there.
Mimi niko salama, Mungu anasaidia. Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. Niambie nisikie. Fanuel ameenda wapi? Amepotea?
Fanuel sijui amemezwa na nini.
Ebu akirudi niambie tutafute pesa pamoja.
Kuna shida. Hi Fidela. Naona Fidela pia ako joining. Thank you guys. Hi.
Okay, Fidela is here. Hi. I don't know what's happening.
Thank you so much for joining. Topic alone interesting sana, guys. We have a senior IEBC official today, and I'm really excited about this. I hope mko na maswali. Yeah, you are the youth and the people in the performing arts right now. Kwa hivyo, take advantage of this opportunity. Salome is here to answer any questions that you might have concerning IEBC and youth involvement in the coming elections. So, yeah, watu wa prepare maswali zao, sawa? Okay, Salome, can you hear me? Okay.
Hi, Ellah. How are you, Ellah? I'm fine.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Sorry. Sorry, as you can see, I've logged on twice.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and I understand that's just for safety purposes.
Yes. So when one falls off, at least I'll be able to still hear you.
That's all right. Thank you very much. So, karibu sana. It's good to see you today.
Yeah, same here. Now we can actually see you.
Yeah, we can see each other. I told you the next time you see me or the first time you see me, nitakuwa nakaa, si nimejaribu.
Nimejaribu.
Hata wewe umejaribu mazi this competition. I don't like sijui nizime kamera yangu.
But it's good to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, you're looking lovely. Thank you so much for coming. Siku yako imekuwa poa?
Yes, my day has been well. Thank you.
All right, we'll just get right into it. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining tonight's episode of Zoom Room with Ellah. I'm joined by a very special person today. Nanisha Wambia. This is Salome Oyugi. She's a senior IEBC official, and she's here to have a conversation with me and you about youth involvement in elections, especially now that elections are coming up in just a few months. It's like a year now, so we should get ready for that. So Salome, are you ready? How are you feeling about this?
I'm actually excited because we have a tailored agenda this coming election where we want to engage the youth more. We want to see the youth out there, registered, ready to vote, ready to elect their leaders. Because like we always say, the youth are the future and their
That's
voice
true.
must be heard. Yes.
That's very true. I'd like to hear a lot more about that. What is this agenda that you plan to involve the youth in the elections?
Let me first start by saying, Ellah, I think we first want to call out to the youth. Andikisha kura. Get out there and register. It is not enough to sit back and complain about your leaders, complain about the services you get as a mwananchi, as a young youth, a young Kenyan, unless you put a voice to your choice. And the only way you can do that is to go out there, have yourself registered, so that on the day of elections, and that we are talking of August 2022, you'll all be out there queuing. I know that queues can be mad, but you get an impetus and an incentive when you stand in queues for so long and know perhaps that tick you will make on the ballot paper, that leader that you will elect will make an impact on your life. So I would start, Ellah, by calling to all youth to go out there and register. How are we ensuring that we reach you? We have voter registration drives. And I know the challenge with most young adults is the cry for no IDs, the outreach, the mobility to get to our registration centers. And we are making deliberate effort with the registrar of persons, with the chiefs and the DOs, so that we can at least have access points where we facilitate the quick registration of young Kenyans who have just turned 18, so that they get their IDs in time. As we speak now, registration in the commission is happening at our constituency offices. But as we get closer to the elections, we will be calling what we call a mass drive of voter registration. This is where we take all our armory and move down all the way to the lowest unit in the electoral area. We want the youth to be engaged in civic education and voter education. You're open to bring in proposals, to bring in ideas. I know youth are very instrumental and very wealthy around social media platforms, visual platforms, literature, and we are hoping through our civic education programs, as we enroll voter education, we can bring on board many of of our youth, so that you're not only waiting for elections, but you're also part and parcel of the process. So we move with you together. We sell your message, we sell your interest. You reach the young people out there and work together with IEBC. And this has been done before. We've had young people come and share with us drawings, which we have been able to put in our voter education programs, in our publications. And it's also a way of uplifting, giving someone something to do with a passion, and knowing that even as they make money from that small packaging of documents, of videos, of airtime platforms, they are still able to drive their own agenda by selling what they want to see at the elections come 2022.
Okay, so are these proposals that the youth should be making, like what opportunities are already out there? Because I know that the IEBC usually has jobs for the, especially during around elections, they usually have jobs that people are encouraged to apply for. So just how you just described how the youth can be involved through voter education, is there a platform where we can apply for these voter education jobs?
Yes, Ellah, within the commission, we have a number of thematic focus areas that we leverage on as we get closer to the general elections. Now, particularly with the voter education outreach, we will be looking to partner with the youth. And we then open up our portals. We open up our communication channels where you're allowed to, we invite you to bring your proposals, and we are able to assess and see how best your programs fit ours. There may not be full funding, because in most cases we expect you to bring a proposal that is backed by someone who can fund you through to the end. But that should not stop someone from trying, because then when we like your idea, we assist you to get that funding so that it is something that we are able to do jointly. The jobs are there, both permanent, and when we advertise, we put it out there. We do open advertising. We advertise through the newspaper, and also we use a lot of our IBC networks, and we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. We are trying to broaden our platform so that we are able to reach more of the young people like yourselves. More particularly, as we get closer to the elections, we do offer those temporary jobs. You've heard of the clerks and the presiding officers and the deputy presiding officers. That is where we now call out in numbers. Anyone who has these qualifications from high school, from university, then we know where to place you. But the openings are there, and I would urge them to be on the lookout.
Well, just on that question, allow me to ask, these jobs are there, but then in my experience and a lot of other youth that I have spoken to, people get to apply for these jobs, but most of the time, even with
Ellah, we seem to have lost you.
And I'm hosting. Okay.
Hello, I'm speaking
Oh, yeah,
from
there she
Fidji's
is.
account. My phone just got disconnected, but allow me to just take care of that in a second. Rodrigo?
Rodrigo has also left, I think.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Salome, allow me to just fix this in a minute. But what I was trying to ask is, how do we ensure that the youth actually get these jobs? Because it's like they rotate among the same old people that get these jobs. It's as if you need to know someone in order for you to get a legit chance at getting a job at IEBC. And that has been the experience of a lot of youth that have gotten a chance to speak to. So how do we even fix that?
Thank you, Ellah. It's always good to be criticized because it gives us an opportunity to improve. I hear you, and a lot of times we have had those complaints here and there. But what I want to say is the competition is high. The competition is stiff, and it has gotten harder in this sense. It's one thing to apply and be called for the interview, but we have a lot of training that goes beyond just being called to be a presiding officer or a clerk. And we usually administer practical exams and grade the applicants. And based on what you score, it then determines whether we take you on board or where we place you for that matter. Because applications are open. Anyone who wants to be a presiding officer, deputy presiding officer, clerk, it's open. But your grading determines where we place you, how, or whether we pick you, if at all. But I do accept there's bound to be a bit of challenge here and there, given numbers, and especially where we have a lot of interest. But we are looking to open the space more and at least try and leverage, particularly in areas where, for example, the level of education we have placed is not quite easily attainable in that particular electoral unit for one reason or another, because we have to appreciate that dynamics are different and every region is unique in its own way. But I will urge young girls, young boys, don't tire from applying. And once you get on board and you're within the database, it gives an opportunity to be called for anything, and not only general elections, but by-elections and all other programs that may be related to election activities. I think, Ellah, I would also want to say one thing. Let's see more youth participating in political party processes. And why do I say this? With the new constitutional dispensation, we opened up the political space for young people in Kenya. And now, even as a few of us attempt to run in elections and fail to get elected, we have a little space under provision we call party list, special seat nominations, Article 90 of our Constitution. And this is where we want to see youth coming in big numbers. But the challenge
allow me to stop you there for a bit, Salome, sorry about that. But you encourage us to participate in the electoral process like that. But then how is it that sorry about that. A lot of youth do not know, we're not even informed about these opportunities that are there for us. So that falls under the category of voter education. And voter education in the recent, well, ever since I started observing this, I observed that it only happens around that time of election. So we do not even know how we can participate, how we're supposed to. We don't even know what role we're supposed to play in this electoral process because we do not have that information. So how can the IEBC try to dissipate that kind of information, at least on a more regular basis as compared to the usual, which is only during election time? And the only thing that usually happens is that we are called to participate, and then we are given that kind of education and it sticks for a bit, but we forget about it until 5 years later when it comes up again. So what do we do about that?
Thank you for that question, Ellah. And I'll reiterate what I said earlier. We are open to criticism, and it helps us plan better as we move forward. But we also have challenges as a commission. And it's mainly around financial support to drive some of our processes. And it's actually the conversation, the discourse we have been having with the national government and the Treasury. The electoral laws provide for continuous voter education. It is then anticipated that it is a drive and a process that will happen every day of every Kenyan's life. But we find ourselves between a rock and a hard place when we receive funds closer to the election period. And as you've rightly observed, that is when you see the big hype around voter education. We are trying to change that narrative so that at least we start these processes much earlier during the election processes. We appreciate people like Rodriguez because he has given me this opportunity. I'm actually educating the youth, and that is the direction we are going. We are seeking support, technical support from donor funding organizations so that at least we have some of our financial needs supplemented through other means and measures, and we are able to sustain voter education processes running through. But there are challenges, there are teething challenges, and I hope this time we will get it right as IEBC, and we will continue to call out for the youth to actively engage and participate in some of these processes.
Okay.
Get to know your political parties. Get to know the manifestos they sell, the ideas they sell, because we can't bring you into the National Assembly or the county assembly unless you belong to a particular political party.
Okay, well, I understand that you face those kind of challenges and it does make sense, but until those kind of challenges are fixed, then this bridge between the youth and participating in elections is not going to be bridged because the problem is at a much higher level than the youth is in the youth's control. So you see, until such things are fixed, then we may not be able to move forward. Okay, so allow me to ask this question from Fidela. By the way, guys, you're encouraged to ask questions. Just type them in the chat box here and I'll read them out to Madam Salome. So we have a question from Fidela and she's asking, do you guys vet the people that are running for offices? I think that is part of the mandate of the IEBC, that being the people in the ballot boxes, and if you do, how strong is the vetting? Because after we've been presented with the candidates, we then go with what they say, as we don't know them well enough. And by that, I mean their characters, their pasts, because it's shocking to vote for someone based on their memorandum and find out in their personal lives, they're pedophiles or women molesters, among others. So basically, Fidela is just asking, do you really vote the people that you encourage us to vote for? And if so, how is it that in the past, ever since the last elections, more and more cases of rape and women, sexual assault against women and all that, there's been increased cases. So what is the vetting process like? Can we trust you to vet the people that we're actually voting for? What's that about?
Thank you for that question, Fidela. And I think, Ellah, that is a concern to
a very big one.
Yes, and most special interest groups are most vulnerable when it comes to the elections. Yes, we do have vetting mechanisms. The interesting thing is that our electoral laws are very laudable. In fact, we have been taken to task by other democracies of over-legislating the elective process. And in some way, that ends up operating as a bottleneck. But even as I say that, what are these vetting mechanisms? Before a candidate stands for election, they are required to go to the Leadership and Integrity Committee. And this is where Chapter 6 of the Constitution kicks in. Issues of integrity. Do you hold those principles that the Constitution prescribes as a molding that person of integrity to be able to run for office? And there is a form you fill. Now, this form binds you to affirm to certain issues around your life. Have you ever been bankrupt? Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever been jailed? Some of the nitty-gritty aspects that Fidela is raising. Mm-hmm. Now, when a candidate signs to that form, they come to IEBC. Mm-hmm. But what we must realize is at the point of the candidate presenting their leadership and integrity clearance, you have no point at that particular time to know whether this particular candidate has spoken to the truth or has in one way or the other made a false statement about their personality, about their life, about their deeds. But the arm of the law is long. The law catches up with you at some point. And our call to Kenyans is that elections cannot be purely about the EMB. It is not on IEBC alone. Every Kenyan has a responsibility to read the Constitution, understand the Constitution, and embrace their responsibility as a Kenyan. When I say that, when it comes to vetting, the Office of the DPP has a responsibility. The Office of the Attorney General has a responsibility. The Registrar of Political Parties has a responsibility. Our 67 registered political parties each have a responsibility to do something. Don't pick a candidate as a party when you know the candidate has some questions about them. And we expect Kenyans who know something about some of these candidates to say it before the candidate is elected. And then the processes then kick in. When we get a complaint as IEBC, we then engage the necessary arms of government. And we in particular reach out to the EACC, who are then able to do their background check. And we have in some instances, as was seen in 2017, disqualified quite a number of people who have been found wanting for one reason or the other. But I see you smiling and I know what the question is. We still have rogue people coming into parliament and everyone is asking, how do we mitigate against that? And we have gone back to the drawing board as the IEBC and we're asking ourselves, is it the law that we need to review? Or is it our collaboration mechanisms that we need to think through so that we enhance them? Maybe it's our enforcement mechanisms. And this is a discourse we are now having in our legal reform agenda. We are reaching out to roll out our public participation on some of the proposals we have as a commission. We would be happy to engage the youth in this particular process. We want stronger action taken on those who violate principles and expect to be elected as leaders. And we are calling upon the police. We are looking into ourselves in terms of enforcement. We have penalized people before because we have those powers under the Electoral Code of Conduct. But there's concerted effort required from all other agencies and stakeholders to the electoral process. And the comfort I can give you is that we are alive to some of these challenges, and it's an agenda in our reform process as we move to 2022 general elections.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you for that. Well, I think we're almost out of time. So guys, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please do that now before it's time to sign out. Personally, well, I'm a performing artist. I'm the youth and I'm also the performing artist, but in this case, allow me to speak on behalf of other performing artists here. So I think the best way in which we can be involved in voter education, the best way we can be involved in the election process is through voter education. And I like that you said encouraged to send out our proposals to you and the ideas that we have, because I know we are so talented and we have so many ideas, but it's really unfortunate that we have to come to you with not just a proposal, but we need to fund this project and show you something substantial in order for you to make our participation valid, if you know what I mean. It would be nice, my plea to you as an IEBC representative is to please find a way, or wherever the funding comes from, it would be really nice to see how they allocate funding for all other IEBC jobs. None of that has to come from the Mwananchi. The government allocates funds for that. So just as much as they do that, they should do that for voter registration, especially for performing artists, because that way we can educate people on what is required of them and how to just better the entire process. So that is my call. That would be my plea. And Fanuel also says, no, that's not Fanuel, it's still Fidela. She says, thank you for answering. However, that being said, is it possible to have a period at which the public are told to speak or forever hold their peace before we have the candidates fully registered?
Actually, Fidela, there is a way we do that. But we all need to be aware of what's happening around us, because the laws have actually arrested that concern of yours. Because as people come out to register, and she's right by phrasing her question that way, because you do not qualify to be a candidate unless you're registered. So if we are able to arrest these kind of characters at the point of registration, then it will mitigate some of the challenges that we are then faced with as we get closer to the particular election. Now, the process is detailed, and it requires at a point of registering persons, we are then required to post the list of registered persons at convenient and conspicuous places. And this is then the call to wananchi. If you know for one reason why Mr. X or Miss W should not be a registered voter, come and tell us. And at that point, we are then able to assess the reasons and make a decision as a commission. So Fidela, it is there. Maybe we have not spoken too much about it. And as I've also heard from Ellah, we need to be heard more as a commission. We need to move from reacting and acting. And yes, you're right, Ellah. There are certain proposals that we can fund. All you need to do is give us your pitch. You're a performing artist, give us your pitch.
Yeah.
We have signature tunes that we look out for every election process, for our adverts, for our roadshows. So give us your pitch, it can be considered, and those are some of the isolated instances where you don't need to fund a process. It is us seeking your talent so that we can use it to drive our processes.
Okay, thank you very much, Salome. And Fidela also says thank you. I do appreciate your time here. So one last question before we close the session. How can we reach out to the IEBC? What platforms can we reach out to you on? How can we get this kind of information that we're asking about?
These usually go to our Directorate of Voter Education and Partnership, and you realize there's a deliberate effort to broaden and speak to partnerships, because at some point we would be partnering with you, for example, so that you sell your agenda and we sell ours. So these you just send directly to IBC through our website, through our emails. We are very active on our Facebook accounts, on our Instagram accounts, and on our websites. But if you want to physically avail yourself, come to IBC 21st floor, Voter Education Directorate, and you will be assisted.
Thank you very much, Salome. You've been very helpful. You've been very insightful, and we really do appreciate your time here.
I'm honored. It's always a pleasure to speak to young minds. We learn a lot from each other, and I think it's time we listen to the youth a lot, because they are our future. And often we say you may have ideas that we are not prone to, we are not alive to, and it's interesting to always get your perspective on what we may want to roll out and what you think would be better for the country, even as we prepare for the 2022 general elections. It was my pleasure. I was humbled and very honored. Thank you, Ellah.
Thank you,
In
Salome.
fact, tunakuja Salome, tunakuja kukusalimia. Tunakuja kukusalimia, tukuja kwa ofisi, tukunywe chai.
Karibu Rodriguez, anytime. You're welcome. And thank you for reaching out. I hope we will continue to engage in this manner. It was really a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, the pleasure is all mine. Have a good evening, Salome. And to everyone else that joined the session, I hope it's been fruitful, and I hope that you can use that information to your advantage. I look forward to a more promising and a more youth engaging future with elections and politics in Kenya.